Good afternoon. My name is Joe Carroll. I'm Head of Professional Development here at the Institute, and just want to welcome you to this information session on the Diploma in Data Analytics and AI. Speaking today, saying my name is Joe Carroll. We've also got Dr. Alan Kearns, and Alan is the lead tutor on the programme, and Alan's going to talk to us a little bit later about the content and what you can expect to learn. Sonia Russell, my colleague Sonia Russell, will talk to us a little bit about the structure of the programme, assessment, what you can do, how you go about booking your place, and also joined by my colleague Orla Highland as well. And Orla, see if there's any questions that come up for Orla as well too. So this program is something we've put a lot of work into over the last, I suppose, 12 or 18 months. It's a program that was in existence before that, but I think we met and felt that AI was an area of sufficient development, an opportunity, and that it was something that we felt the diploma should encompass. And also RPA, the Robotic Process Automation, we were seeing this in action. We were hearing how this was impacting organizations. So we've developed this new, refreshed, redesigned program, which incorporates all these elements, including the core data analytics element that has been popular over the last number of years as well. The program, so you can take away, there's going to be a number of, I suppose, takeaways from this program. And what we're aiming to do is give you something tangible that you walk away with, that you can do something different than you did when you walked in the door and started the course. So we're trying to keep it as real world as we can. And we're going to try and give you tools that will give you confidence, things that you can use, that you can understand what artificial intelligence is, how you can employ something like ChatGPT. Storytelling is an important part of it. We feel that data is, I suppose, it's only as good as the application of it, and the application of it is only as good as how influential, how effective you can be in bringing people with you, bringing the organization with you, bringing colleagues with you, and telling that story with your data, we think is really important. So presenting that with confidence, with credibility, but grounded in a real understanding of the concepts. And also an ethical understanding of the concepts. I think we're probably heard about how the ethics of this are challenging, and how we need to be mindful of that, and we need to be mindful of data security as well. So, Alan, I think I'm going to pass over to you, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the people who've done the program in the past, who we envisage doing it in the future, and then take it on from there.
Yeah, brilliant. And good afternoon, I suppose now, everybody. Alan Kearns is my name. Delighted to kind of meet you virtually today. And Joe, thanks a million for that kind of introduction. So I think Joe's kind of spoken to you about how we've kind of refreshed and updated the program to make it, I think, really as contemporary as we could, with the kind of topics that you're seeing kind of in the popular press, but obviously no doubt kind of hearing kind of professionally. But what hasn't changed about this program is, I think, what the kind of really positive feedback we get. This program was originated only a short number of years ago, but out of an idea that doing analytics or making better use of data in order to improve the way maybe each of us does our jobs, or our teams, or our departments, or our organizations, isn't the preserve of somebody who's head of analytics. I was one for many years, led many analytics teams, or a kind of really advanced analyst. It's each of us has that kind of potential, basically, to decide and to think about how we make better use of data. Maybe it's improved decisions, maybe it's a smarter process, and maybe it's some financial or efficiency savings. So there's many ways to kind of judge it. And actually, so the question we sort of asked ourselves is, what do kind of professionals working today who are not leading analytics teams, are not working in the middle of core kind of analytics teams, but how do they thrive and survive and add value in a world that recognizes that there's value in enhanced use of data, in understanding a bit more how to plan an analytics initiative, to understand a little bit more about how to impact and influence other stakeholders to make better use of data. And that's what really kind of, that's the core behind the program. That hasn't changed. And I suppose, Joe, you've asked a good question. The kind of feedback we've had is that all of the kind of accountants and other professionals that we've had on the program have very much kind of started with wow, I really want to see how this plays out. But by the end, have, as you said, in a practical way, planned, and many of them have delivered within their kind of work environment, a practical initiative where the firm is seeing enhanced use of data and seeing additional value. And I think we've proven the kind of case we set out to, which is that each of us, we don't have to work in analytics, have that sophistication in order to recognize opportunities for business areas and businesses to make better use of value and data. And that kind of core kind of thinking kind of continues to drive the program. So what we might do is just move on to the next slide. Thanks a million. So I think in terms of, Joe's spoken to you about some of the kind of practical kind of benefits of engaging on the program. And I think it is really important not to overlook the words around confidence, for example. So that confidence to kind of engage maybe with analytics professionals, to understand their thinking, to understand their language. So we'll definitely kind of dig into that really at the start of the program. There are some really simple almost steps to identify a correct or good initiative for a firm or a team or a department, or indeed for each of us in our individual roles, to make better use of data, how we plan that out, how we bring stakeholders and others with us. So we can definitely kind of we start off with a very strong kind of practical kind of aspect to the program. And there are some kind of quite, what would you say, kind of modern and more prevalent ways of thinking, ways of problem solving, which professionals working today, but certainly thinking about the future where change is more of a constant. So we do touch on in a lighter way, but really importantly, pieces like design thinking and storytelling. These are again not specific only to analytics, but this is where we learn to be more effective problem solvers. We learn to be more effective kind of at impacting and influencing other stakeholders. And when, we successfully thought about an opportunity to make better use of data or analytics, that often involves a step in convincing others that we're solving the right problem, a problem that's worth solving, and also as to why others, colleagues in our firms or our customers or our clients or suppliers, whatever the context is, why they should actually use the solution. So these skills around design thinking, storytelling, they're kind of integral to kind of giving you that kind of confidence and that we want to come out at the end. Joe's touched on some of the other pieces. So there's maybe kind of just two kind of broad categories. There's sort of some of the plumbing around using better data. So we will talk about data quality, and we'll also talk about ethics, ethical use of data and ethical use of kind of new techniques such as artificial intelligence. At a level, ethics in itself hasn't changed. There has always been an ethical concern that we're using data in a way that's right and proper. So our businesses and firms are getting value, but they're doing it in a way that's transparent, and we can kind of demonstrate that. It's an age-old problem that we don't have fit-for-purpose data. And so we'll talk about some ways to kind of guesstimate where anybody is, where a data set is in terms of their fit-for-purpose data, and how we might remediate that. I think overlaying all of this, and again, to bring it back to the practical piece, we're going to go through many of these topics, but what's happening behind the scenes, which we get really positive feedback from participants, is that we start effectively at the start thinking about a kind of an initiative and supporting the participants all the way through about an initiative that would add value, maybe to their own role, to the current team they work in, or to their organization. And the way the content is structured is participants are supported to kind of mature that idea, to kind of help to plan it out. And what we get then at the end is an opportunity to kind of write up the stage that has gotten to over the couple of months of participating on the program, and an opportunity to present it to some of the kind of lecturers on the program and to get feedback on it. So even though we're going through content as you would on a diploma, what's happening behind the scenes is participants leaving with a very practical and pragmatic piece of work, initiative. It's been really fantastic to witness how many people have advanced their careers, have increased their profile within their firms, have added real value to their firms, ultimately have worked on an important outcome. And so that goes from the first time we meet, and that'll be the constant theme through all of the modules. And the more then that we get in and kind of cycle through the topics, then the more able the participants are to kind of push on their thinking, their documentation of their initiative a little bit more. And actually some participants get ahead of us. They've come up with a proposal, they've got the buy-in for it, and actually they've built it and deployed it even by the time the program is ended. Not everybody will get to that stage, but it's great to see how the kind of ideas advance. And I think participants get they're doing this in a safe and supported environment on the program, but they're getting a kind of a double benefit in terms of, they've something to kind of continue on and to roll out within the firm. Let me finish and just say a last piece on our artificial intelligence. Thanks, Joe, because this is, I suppose, the kind of big kind of change and update that we've made to the program. So artificial intelligence is an advanced statistical technique, and we would have always kind of explained on the program where that sits, right? But what we've really decided to do here is to make it much more explicit and to really support participants getting a better understanding about how businesses can adopt artificial intelligence. So not the mechanics of being able to do it, but understanding the potential for artificial intelligence to impact businesses in a positive way, and being able then to kind of, armed with that potential, to better spot kind of opportunities, to be better able to engage, I suppose, in a conversation for firms, which is for many, many firms still at a very early embryonic kind of stage. So we'll explain the kind of basics of artificial intelligence. We'll dig into its potential to help businesses. And we will get into what is sort of almost in the press now every day, this kind of category of generative artificial intelligence, which has really hit the headlines in the last, I suppose, year or two, where these statistical techniques and analytics techniques are allowing, in effect, computers to create content, create new images, create text, and so forth. So we'll explain that. We'll break it down. Joe's mentioned a couple of the examples already. So using generative artificial intelligence to analyze text, that has enormous implications for automating some manual work, but also for creating text, which is kind of really interesting. Robotic process automation, where software, we create kind of statistics and software to basically solve problems that would have potentially needed kind of human input, whether that's collation, whether that's aggregation, whether that's summarizing. And we'll also get very practical. So we'll take an example such as ChatGPT, which is effectively a really accessible tool to allow everyday users, as many of us are, to access an artificial intelligence capability. And we'll get in and we'll explain how ChatGPT works and provide some kind of direct kind of support to using it better, which is called prompt engineering. So the actual instructions you put into ChatGPT, and there are ways to do that more effectively, less effectively, and we'll have an opportunity to kind of explore that. So you'll leave with a very kind of and better practical understanding of how to use some of the really common tools such as ChatGPT, which are already there. And our focus would be very much on leaving certainly that for ChatGPT and being able to use that much more effectively. And we've already touched on the fact that there are really interesting and challenging ethical questions about using data for artificial intelligence, and we'll look at that specifically too. So, Joe, hopefully that's a kind of enough of an overview without getting into the content in much more detail. But again, happy to come back any questions afterwards. Thanks, Joe.
And Alan, thank you very much. There's been a couple of questions popped in, and we've just gone back to some of the simple questions. But we'll round up at the end with Q&A. So I'll hold over some of those other ones till the end. Sonia, just want to ask you maybe to talk to the guys a bit about how they'll study, get the materials, be assessed, all those kind of what they can really expect when they're on the course.
Yeah, of course, Joe. So hello, everyone. My name is Sonia, and I'm the course coordinator here for the Diploma in Data Analytics and AI. So how will you study? So the Diploma in Data Analytics, it's delivered fully online. Our virtual learning platform, Moodle, is going to be the host or the platform that you will use for all your course materials, such as recorded videos, slides, and notes. We will communicate with you throughout the announcement section in Moodle as well. So that's where we're going to share our important updates and the live session joining instructions. There's also a chat forum feature on Moodle, which is a great way to communicate with your fellow participants and lecturers, especially on that online learning kind of platform where you're not meeting people in person. So yeah, I'll just go to the next slide, Joe. So the live sessions. So every module is supported by a live session hosted by your lecturer. These sessions are a great opportunity to engage, ask questions, and everything like that. The sessions are usually scheduled for Wednesday evenings between 5 and 6 p.m. There is a little bit of discrepancy in that. Some do go a little bit longer, but I'll send the timetable after this so you can have a look. And don't worry if you can't make a session for any reason, because all the sessions are recorded and they're made available on Moodle the following day. Let's go to the So how you're assessed. So the diploma will be assessed through a combination of 2 practical home assignments and a number of MCQs. Assignment 2 incorporates a presentation where you'll be able to showcase your storytelling and presentation skills. The presentation will take place on Zoom. So the weighing there for the course is as follows. So assignment 1 is 25%, then 4 MCQs at 20%. Assignment 2 will be 40%, and the presentation will be 15%. So participants must achieve 50% or above in each of the home assignments to be eligible for the award of diploma. The overall pass mark then is set at 50% with a distinction achieved at 70%. So the entry requirements. We welcome applications from members of Chartered Accountants Ireland, members of any other recognised professional bodies, holders of a level 8 degree, and applicants with relevant experience in finance, business, or another field. And then the fees for the course. So the fees for the course for members are €2,995 and other professionals is €3,295. And then the fees are fully inclusive and will cover your registration, course materials, and tuition fees. And then I'll just talk to you a little bit more about our instalment plans. So typically we have an instalment plan which is broken into 4 equal payments. The first payment is taken at the time of your registration, and then 3 further payments on agreed dates. Again, if this option doesn't meet your needs, we're more than happy to work with you to tailor a plan that suits you. So you can just get in touch with us about that. And then funding with IFS SkillNet. So if your company is a member of IFS SkillNet, you might be eligible for funding. You can receive 20% funding on the Diploma in Data Analytics and AI. So for more information on that, you can contact IFS SkillNet directly or ourselves, and we can provide some guidance around that. And then what's next? So to book your place in the diploma, we ask that you complete the application on our website. The start date for the course is the 10th of April. And after the session today, I'll send an email just with some more information about the instalment plans, the funding, and the timetable as well. So yeah, I'll pass you back to Joe, who's going to open the floor for some questions and answers, I think.
Brilliant, Sonia. Thank you very much. And I hope I think you've answered a few questions that have come in there already. There was some practical questions about, will we share the recording of this session afterwards? The answer is yes. We'll do a little bit of editing on it and we'll get it out to you probably tomorrow. We'll also can include the slides. That was another question around, could we include the slides? Yes, we can. Alan, this one's probably for you. Question from Neve asking, is access to ChatGPT required? My work has blocked access. What's your...
Yeah, no, great question, Neve, and that's not unusual. So it's not a strict requirement. So there's no assignment or exercise that will require you to access it. I think what would be great, so we'll provide kind of some video and other narrative kind of support around this kind of using ChatGPT. And as I said, this kind of broad topic of prompt engineering, which is effectively writing more effective instructions. And what would be great, Neve, is whether, I don't know, either in an internet cafe or on a personal computer or something, at some point that, you know, you'd get like a chance to use it. But like, it's not unusual that business places have blocked tools like ChatGPT, so it's not, you know, it's not it won't be an impediment to completing the program at all. This would be just at a point, it would just be, you know, I suppose really kind of interesting, having gone through the material that you may, or and other participants would want to almost like practice and just see how it works, which can be on a personal device or other pieces, but there's no kind of software dependency on completing any of the assignments or other pieces there, basically. So we'll provide some really interesting kind of supportive content on ChatGPT, a bit of background to it, and then this you know, writing instructions and let's say support thinking about using those tools more effectively, but it's not a requirement to have access to it. No, great question, thank you.
Well, hopefully that reassures Neve anyway. Question here, Alan, about experience. What pre-existing level of knowledge does someone need to be advanced at Excel, or, you know, what sort of knowledge do they require coming in the door?
So I'm going to say, and I think this goes back to the kind of the North Star that we had for the program, Joe. So no, there is no kind of advanced, and it's not a program for, you know, leaving to be advanced Excel or needing to use kind of various, it's not a program on the actual kind of deep dive into mechanics of doing analytics. I honestly, I think it's curiosity is the first piece. I think thinking about, and we all to a greater or lesser degree have some data, so it would be really useful in thinking about the role or the team or organization that you work in. But no, in fact, the program, to go back to Joe, I think to a core point that you've made at the start, and I wanted to really reinforce, this is about building up non-analytics, non-advanced Excel users, non-advanced any other kind of software users confidence that we can be really influential in spotting identity or spotting opportunities to use data a little bit more effectively, opportunities for analytics. So in this sense, it's open to professionals everywhere, except those that probably work day-to-day leading kind of advanced analytics and other teams that require kind of a different mindset, really. So I think, so for me, kind of curiosity, working in a business area that's either got processes or data or decision making, these are the pieces which we nearly all do. It's that's really it. But in fact, and I think it's really important. When we designed the program, we did so very deliberately to kind of give professionals that support and to differentiate it from what we saw in terms of elsewhere, which were very much based around bringing people in and teaching them how to use one or two pieces of software in an advanced way, but leaving behind how do we structure and think about making better use of data? How do we tell our stories? How do we get a bit better at problem solving? These other professional skills around using data. And that's really what we hope to kind of support you on the program.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much. There's a question here from Connor. Outside the lectures, what is the estimate time commitment required of participants? An estimate is fine. I suppose, Connor, I might pick it up some of that and then I'll ask the guys to flesh things out. But I mean, you've probably got a number of aspects to that, the assessment being part of it. And Alan and Sonia spoke about what the assessment is. So maybe I'll ask them to talk a little bit about the volume of time required. And then we've got the lectures. The live lectures, I suppose, but then there is additional work where you're doing some self-guided work, which brings you through to those multiple choice questions then as well. So, Alan, would you maybe give your insights about the time that's required?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the key time is getting through the material. So I hopefully the workshops that we scheduled, and Sonia mentioned that we'll have workshops, and we many of them are kind of in the 1 hour range, but we do extend that if there's a bit more material to kind of get through, basically. So they'll be really useful as a guide to kind of the key messages and key kind of points of emphasis that we really want you to take in the material. But I suppose, Joe, to your point, you know, for every hour workshop, there's probably an hour, 2 or 3 outside of, we provide kind of background material and other reading. In terms of the assignments, in a sense, we provide very structured guidance on the assignments. So the assignments will be broken down into kind of 3-4 parts, basically. And we've kept the assignments, in a sense, deliberately quite short in terms of length. So for us, really, it's about just the thinking that you can do. And I think here, this is where we really are trying to kind of add value in 2 ways. One is assignments 1 and assignment 3 are very much based on this, you know, that there is an initiative or an idea that we could make progress in your work environment. So it will be something that you could be thinking about, something you could be progressing, conversations, etc., in the work environment when you're in work. It's not they're not completely separate assignments that you would take away and do. So I think in that sense, it also helps to kind of manage the time commitment outside, basically. And there's a strong link. Assignment 1 is a really good go at getting the initial vision for an analytics initiative or data initiative down on paper and thinking about that. And assignment 3 can very much build on that and see how that's matured after the end of the program. Let me just pause there, Sonia.
I mean, yeah. Sonia may, from experience talking to people, have a better answer on this, but I would have thought that you're talking about a couple of weekends for each of those assignments, those big assignment 1 and the case study assignment, the capstone assignment. That there's a fair degree of work involved in that. Yeah, you can dovetail. Hopefully with the day job to some extent, but there's still going to be, there's a sizable bit of work involved in it. But there's a sizable amount of learning in the process too, Alan, I think it'd be fair to say.
Yeah.
Sonia?
Yeah, I think on previous iterations of the course, what we've heard is maybe 15 to 20 hours per assignment, and then around 70 hours of time reviewing the course materials, attending lectures and watching pre-recorded videos. But again, that will vary per the individual, but they're kind of the feedback that we do get.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, Connor, hopefully that gives you some ideas about that. Alan, do we provide tools to build our own RPA models? Do we need any coding knowledge? John has asked.
Yeah. No, thanks, John. A great question. So, no, we don't kind of get into the tools in that way. We describe the kind of outcomes that we seek to achieve with RPA. But that's sort of goes back to the point I was sort of just saying a little earlier, that the program is really to equip the kind of foundational understanding of what these are. What do we mean when we mention these kind of labels? What can they achieve? But we don't have kind of capacity then on the program. We don't get into specifically how would you code and build this, which would be quite involved. So you don't need any coding knowledge to come on, basically. But what you'd leave with is a much better understanding of the kind of business case for why these methods can add a lot of value. But we don't get into the how we code those up or deliver them in practice. Yeah.
Okay. A question here. Any other AI tools apart from ChatGPT will be introduced and discussed in detail during the course?
No, that's the kind of basic one that we do. So we spend quite a bit of time. So we have a bit of a choice to kind of make about what we would cover, basically. But we spend kind of quite a bit of our time then just maybe a step before these kind of tools, which make them accessible, to kind of build up participants' understanding of generative AI, which is the kind of term here, and that's text, that's image, data, and kind of what it kind of means in practice, what the potential is. And then ChatGPT is the one, just given that I suppose it's most maybe talked about contemporaneously and indeed accessible then if people want to kind of go and practice what we talk about themselves. So we give a particular focus to that, Joe, but I'd say that's the kind of main one that we do focus on when we get to that, kind of applying it in practice and building on the foundational piece we've done before.
Brilliant, Alan. Before we close, if there's any more questions, do drop them in. I think we have another couple of moments, but Alan, or Sonia, is there anything else, we should say to people who are thinking about this course? Anything we should, kind of parting comments or things we should leave them with to think about?
Yeah, I suppose just to mention after the session today, I will send an email with more information about what we've talked about today and include the recording on the slide deck as well. So you'll have our contact information if you have any questions after today as well. So it's not the last chance to get the questions in.
And we're starting on the 10th of April, so that's sort of I probably would also say to people, like, just from experience, and I think you gave people an understanding of it, it's like, there's always a degree of flexibility. I wouldn't want anyone to miss out on the start of the course while you were getting paperwork or approvals through the machinations in your organization. I know at times it can be difficult to get these things moved through the HR processes and all that kind of stuff. But definitely, if you think you want to start the course and you've got that process underway, we'll get you on it and give you time to sort out those things in the background for sure. That'd be fair to say, Sonia, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Alan, any parting comments or thoughts?
No, Joe. Like, hopefully that's come across. As I said, I think, and thanks so much for all of the questions. And I think they really go to the heart of really the value of this particular program, which is don't be kind of worrying that it's I can't code, I can't I'm not an advanced Excel user, I'm not an advanced statistics kind of user, which is I think what many programs around data, statistics, and AI kind of bring up. This is a program very much to build kind of understanding. It's very much to provide professionals working everywhere, basically with an enhanced idea of how to have conversations, to structure ideas around analytics and data, to be more confident, to have a good foundational understanding of the common terms that we hear used every day. And I think that, thank you for those questions. I think they go to the heart really of the kind of value of the program that we're offering here.
So we're not trying to turn them into data scientists. It is very much about equipping accountants with an additional tool set and way of approaching problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you Alan, Sonia, and everyone else for joining us this afternoon. Thanks for your time. As Sonia said, we'll follow up with a recording of the session with the slides and probably with a copy of the brochure then as well, just so you have everything in one package. If you had any follow-up questions and you want to just shoot them through in an email to us, delighted to pick them up, have a call if that's needed. But other than that, listen, thank you everybody. Have a good day, and hopefully we'll see some of you on this course or another course really soon. Thank you.